This is without a doubt the most deranged terrorist attack I've ever seen. A terrorist installed 8 high-explosive bombs on a Japanese Shinkansen train, and as long as the train's speed dropped below 40 kilometers per hour, the bombs on board would blossom like the atomic bomb in Hiroshima. However, in the face of the terrorists' demand for 100 billion yen in ransom, the Japanese government took a very firm stance. They neither wanted to pay the ransom nor negotiate with the terrorist. The crazed person in charge even released the handbrake and was thinking about using the famous trolley problem to save the passengers. This is not a movie. It really happened in 1975. It was a terrorist attack on Japan's Shinkansen, and it's said that the anime Japan Hikarian Railroad, which many of us loved watching as kids, was specially made by Japan to promote Shinkansen safety after this incident. Today, let's take a few minutes to examine how the Japanese authorities dealt with this terrorist incident back then. The story begins one morning. At the Shinkansen dispatch center in Japan, the dispatchers were busy managing operations at their computers just like any other day. But just as everyone thought it would be another ordinary day, one dispatcher suddenly received a threatening phone call.
新青森発東京行きはやぶさ60号に爆弾を仕掛けました。
お客様、もう一度最初からご内容をお伺いしてもよろしいでしょうか。
爆弾は時速 100km 以下になると爆発します。
The dispatcher immediately reported the situation, but the head of the dispatch center thought it was a prank. Ever since the Shinkansen opened, the dispatch center had frequently received threatening calls, but each time they stopped the trains and inspected them, nothing was ever found. Just when the head of the dispatch center thought this was yet another prank, the mysterious caller made another threatening call. It turned out the terrorist had anticipated that the dispatch center might not believe him, so he had also planted a bomb on a freight train, set to explode if the train's speed dropped below 40 kilometers per hour. The person in charge urgently pulled up information about the freight train, which was just about to stop at a transfer station. He wanted the local dispatcher to order the freight train to keep moving, but just as the staff received the call, the train exploded. Seeing the footage from the surveillance camera, the head of the dispatch center finally believed the terrorists' threat and immediately reported it to headquarters. Upon learning that bombs had been planted on a Shinkansen train, headquarters quickly formed an emergency response team. The team leader, Kazuya, immediately pulled up information about the relevant train. It was a high-speed train traveling from Shinamori Station to Tokyo, carrying over 500 passengers with a current speed of 260 kilometers per hour. According to the scheduled plan, the train was set to arrive in Tokyo in 3 hours. Kazuya suspected that the terrorists' real target might not be the train itself, but Tokyo Station. At that moment, there were dozens of trains passing through Tokyo Station, and tens of thousands of travelers were in transit. If the bombs exploded at the station, the consequences would be unimaginable. Realizing this, Kazuya's first instinct was to slow the train down. He ordered the driver, Chika, to switch to manual mode and maintain a speed of 110 kilometers per hour. This would extend the 3-hour journey to 5 hours. In addition, Kazuya cleared a dedicated track for the train, halting all other train operations to ensure smooth travel. Even Tokyo Station began emergency evacuation procedures. After learning that there were bombs on board, the crew on the train was stunned. Fearing mass panic, they didn't tell the passengers the truth, but instead claimed there was a mechanical issue. Upon hearing there was a malfunction, the passengers on the train didn't think much of it. Everyone assumed the railway company would resolve the issue soon. However, just as the passengers were waiting for further updates from the crew, another unexpected event occurred. The terrorist made another threatening call, demanding ransom.
JR 東日本吉村です。はやぶさ60号の爆弾解除料を用意してください。交換で起爆装置の解除方法を教えます。
Upon hearing that the terrorist was demanding 100 billion yen, the railway company was utterly stunned. But that wasn't even the most outrageous part. The terrorist stated that the 100 billion yen couldn't come from government funds or the railway company. He demanded that every Japanese citizen donate 1,000 yen. If no one was willing to donate, or if the money wasn't raised by the time the train arrived at its destination, the terrorist would detonate the bombs. Faced with such demands, the railway officials had no idea how to respond. Just then, a man arrived at the dispatch center. The man identified himself as Sasaki, a special advisor to the Prime Minister, and declared that he would be taking over all operations there. Sasaki had an extremely firm attitude. Not only did he refuse to negotiate with the terrorist, but he also informed the passengers on board that the train had been hijacked. Once they learned there were bombs on the train, the passengers swarmed the crew, demanding the railway company dismantle the bombs immediately. The train cars were filled with complaints and blame. Just as the scene was descending into chaos, a female politician stepped forward. But before she could even finish speaking, one of the passengers recognized her. It turned out the politician had a lot of scandals online, and the public didn't trust her at all. Some even believed that the bombs had been planted specifically because she was on board. Instead of calming the passengers, the politician made the situation even worse. Meanwhile, the Japanese Prime Minister made a televised address. His message was clear. Under no circumstances would the government negotiate with terrorists. The Prime Minister's speech quickly reached the ears of the terrorist. To prove that he was serious, the terrorist uploaded a video showing the bombs he had installed. The explosives were attached to the underside of the train and couldn't be removed while it was running at high speed. Before the emergency response team could come up with a plan, the dispatch center sent another urgent message. A train had broken down on the tracks, and the hijacked Shinkansen was only 10 minutes away from reaching it. There was no time to move the stalled train. If it couldn't be cleared in time, the two trains would collide. Kazuya came up with a solution. He instructed staff to switch the track and divert the hijacked train onto the freight line. But there was a freight train on the other end of that line. If they switched the track, a collision would be inevitable. Kazuya opened the railway map and saw that there were two junctions ahead. The hijacked train could switch to the alternate track at the first junction, then switch back to the main track at the second one. As long as they timed it right, they could avoid a crash. Under Kazuya's command, the train successfully switched to the second track. Although there was some minor scraping, the two trains ultimately passed each other safely. Everyone in the control room let out a long sigh of relief. Meanwhile, on board the train, the passengers were in complete disarray. To help raise the ransom, an online influencer started a live stream asking viewers to each donate 1,000 yen. The female politician tried to get the influencer to shut down the live stream, fearing that if the public saw the chaos on board, it would cause widespread panic. But the live stream only added fuel to the fire. Passengers were arguing loudly on the train, and online netizens were also in an uproar. Some believed people should donate the money, while others speculated the terrorist was targeting the politician out of revenge. Things got even more absurd when viewers discovered that a senior executive from a helicopter company was also on board. Just last month, one of that company's helicopters crashed, killing 10 people. The company not only refused to compensate the families, but shifted all the blame onto the pilot. In an attempt to get the public to donate, several passengers dragged the executive up and demanded he apologize to the entire nation on camera. While chaos reigned on the train, the dispatch center was trying to figure out a way to save the passengers. One dispatcher came up with the idea of separating the train cars. Although the terrorists' video didn't reveal which cars the bombs were in, based on maximum destructive effect, it was likely that bombs were installed in the lead car, the middle section, and the rear car. Their plan was to gather all passengers into the two center cars, then detach the last car. Once it was separated, another train would catch up to the hijacked train and transfer the passengers to safety. This way they could also disconnect the front car, the most dangerous part. And if there was a bomb inside, slowing down would trigger the explosion away from the others. Upon hearing Kazuya's proposal, Sasaki and the others agreed it was a solid plan, and after discussions, the Prime Minister approved it. The rescue train quickly caught up with the hijacked train. With help from experts, crew members on board unhooked the final car. As soon as it detached, the car began to decelerate and exploded. The entire train fell silent at the sight of the destroyed rear car. With the help of staff, the wreckage was pushed off the tracks. Soon after, the rescue train caught up again, and the crew used specialized equipment to link the two trains together. Passengers were evacuated in an orderly manner into the new train. However, the man who had been beaten earlier refused to leave the original train. He caused a scene in the car, blocking others from evacuating. While the crew tried to remove him, another crisis occurred. Due to the increased weight, the train's speed began to drop. As it approached 100 kilometers per hour, Chika attempted to accelerate but discovered a failure in the braking system. In such a situation, the system had to be restarted, but doing so would momentarily cut all power to the train. As the speed continued to drop, Chika initiated an online reboot. She yanked the control lever, briefly shutting the system down, then immediately restarted it. This maneuver got the speed back up, but caused a disaster for the rescue train. The sudden deceleration ripped apart the connecting passage between the two trains. Some passengers who hadn't evacuated in time were now trapped on board. Worse yet, the rescue train had been damaged in the collision and could no longer assist. Meanwhile, the hijacked train was now only 200 kilometers from Tokyo. Tokyo Station was a dead end. The train had only two choices: crash into the wall and explode, or slow down and explode. If they couldn't rescue the remaining passengers within 2 hours, everyone on board would die. As the command center agonized over what to do, Kazuya came up with another idea. There was a freight railway near Tokyo Station, but it wasn't connected to the Shinkansen tracks. There was a 5-meter gap between them. Kazuya proposed building a new switch track so the train could veer onto the freight line. This way, the train could keep running all the way to another station 500 kilometers away. If everyone acted fast enough, the track could be laid within an hour. Though Sasaki thought Kazuya's idea was risky, there was no time to hesitate. The railway company immediately mobilized all available workers. They dismantled tracks from other lines, transported rails and ties to the new junction, and began construction. In the heart of Tokyo, an elderly man suddenly received a call from his daughter, Yuzuki. She was one of the passengers trapped on the train. The man told her not to be afraid and reassured her that the government would save them all. But to his shock, Yuzuki calmly revealed the truth. She was the terrorist. As a child, Yuzuki had suffered severe physical abuse from her alcoholic and violent father. She had grown up covered in bruises, full of despair and resentment. To take revenge on her father, Yuzuki joined this terror plot, and she had prepared a very special gift just for him. Watching her childhood home reduced to rubble, Yuzuki felt pure joy. She returned to the train car and called the railway company, publicly confessing in front of everyone that she was the terrorist. The detonator, she revealed, was implanted in her heart. Her original plan was to detonate the bomb at Tokyo Station, but after witnessing the crew's desperate efforts to save the passengers, Yuzuki began to regret her decision. She told them, if someone killed her, the bomb could be deactivated. The police immediately investigated Yuzuki's background and quickly discovered that she had undergone heart surgery a month earlier. But the chief commander had a gut feeling. There was no way Yuzuki could have planned this attack alone. They dug into her social media accounts and, through one of her chat logs, the police soon identified the mastermind, Masatoshi. Masatoshi had a personal reason for orchestrating this attack. Over a decade earlier, his father had attempted to hijack a train. That mission failed, and his father died in the explosion along with the train. Determined to fulfill his father's wish, Masatoshi planned this attack to succeed where his father failed. As long as the train arrived at Tokyo Station, the bombs would go off. Kazuya's track-switching plan wouldn't work. Killing Yuzuki would change nothing. According to Masatoshi's confession, Kazuya learned that the bombs were installed in cars 1, 4, and 6. Staring at the track diagram, Kazuya came up with one last idea. 60 kilometers ahead was Kyugu Station, a small rural stop with few people around. His plan was to let the front 6 cars pass through the station, then switch the track again, causing the rear cars to take a different route.
8号車はこれに続きます。そして、鷲宮の分岐線へ差し掛かり、ポイント B 操作。通過のタイミングに合わせてポイントを操作することで連結が破断され。
Everyone agreed it was their best shot. With the plan set, the crew began evacuating the remaining passengers, making sure everyone had moved into car 8. Chika locked the train speed at 120 kilometers per hour, and 3 minutes later, the train reached the station. Kazuya timed the switch perfectly.
7、6、5。
Pulled by inertia, Car 7 detached cleanly. The slowing train derailed and exploded. The separated car collided with the speed reduction cones and came to a halt on the tracks. Rescue crews waiting nearby immediately pried open the deformed car, and all remaining passengers were safely rescued. As Yuzuki was escorted into a police car, the chief handed her a phone. The fundraiser launched by the influencer had actually reached its goal, and that was Bullet Train Explosion, Japan's latest action-packed thriller of 2025. Overall, the film was quite solid. That's it for today's recap. See you next time.